Welcome back to the Hospitality Room presented by Mascot Media. Bobby Swofford, Blair Cartwright. We missed you last week, but it was a historic week for Mr. Swofford. Not only did you get air conditioning back, you got to go to Wrigley Field.
Yeah, it was a really good weekend in the Swofford household. So it was nice. The air conditioning got installed about 10:45, 11 o'clock last Friday, and got on a plane about 5 hours later and went to Wrigley Field the next day. So it was a good weekend.
Yeah, you look much more relaxed than when I saw you last. Oh
Yeah.
man, and I'm sure the missus is very happy with the air conditioning now
Yes.
too.
Very much so. I don't know that she left the upstairs because we haven't been able to
Oh,
use our actual bedroom in a month
oh
because
my
we've been
God.
living in the spare bedroom because that's where the window unit is. And so yes, it's the fact that we bought a new bed also compounds the fact that she didn't get out of said new bed for
Mm.
the entire weekend.
And given how hot it was, I totally can understand that.
Yeah.
Man. All right, we got a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and get right to our headlines, as we call them. We'll talk first. Olympics. Have you watched any of the Olympics? I've actually watched some.
No, no, I'm gonna say no because I haven't turned them on at my house. I've
Yeah.
watched them when they're on the television, like at a restaurant or a
Mhm.
drinking establishment.
It's not been bad watching the men's gymnastics. Wrote his name down, Frederick Richards. Those guys were amazing. Watching the floor. Granted, the U.S. team got bronze. Everyone's excited. That's awesome. Everybody will forget who they were in a week. But the stuff they can do, the strength
Hmm.
it would take to do that
Yeah.
is insane. I mean, it's just we see women's gymnastics. Arkansas's got the gymnastics program, but what these guys can do, not to discredit the women, but the stuff they
Hmm.
can do. I mean, that might be the most athletic stuff I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean that kind of body control and just skills that they have is something that we don't comprehend. If you're watching the major sports, then you watch that you might as well be on Jupiter because that's not normal.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be able to do some of those things. Yes, I don't care if you're just all you do is the beam or just one event. You've got skills that 99% of the world do not. It's pretty
Yes.
impressive what those gymnastics competitors can do.
Indeed. And then we had the 100 meters yesterday.
Yeah.
Lyles won in a photo finish, and man, I mean, what 0.0005 seconds?
Hmm.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Just
I mean, you're talking what 0.2 seconds away from winning a gold medal to not even medaling. That's how close
yeah.
it was.
I mean, isn't that
It's,
insane?
yeah. I mean, we kind of gotten, I guess, immune to it just because Usain Bolt was just so much faster than everybody else. That's kind of what you expect to see out of the 100-meter dash. You're not supposed to run away from people in 25 steps like Bolt used to do.
Yes, and his coach, uh, whose name suddenly escapes me, former Razorback assistant that got in a lot of trouble, and Tyson Gay are Lyle's
Hmm.
coaches. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And the assistant or volunteer assistant wins the shot put, wins that in the rain. Um, it's hard. It's cool to watch in the afternoon because it's live, but then the evening thing is with social media. You already know who won. It kind of takes the
Right.
fun out of it, doesn't it?
It does, and you run into that all the time with the Olympics or the World Cup, just because obviously the time change and they can't gear it towards us. I mean, get that my wife went to a watch party Saturday morning at 8 o'clock for a women's soccer match, and so I call her. I'm in
Wow.
Chicago. I'm like, hey, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I'm watching the soccer match. I'm like, oh, okay, you in bed? No, I'm out with my friends. What? Okay,
Wow. That's almost college football level stuff there.
yeah, I agree.
Tailgating, watch party at 8 a.m. So, with the Olympics in mind, our next a little quiz. Is it an Olympic sport? These
Okay,
are Olympic sports, but should they be Olympic sports? 3-on-3 basketball.
no, kill it.
Because my question is if you can do it in the driveway, does that make it an Olympic sport? And when is hopscotch going to be in the Olympics?
Yeah, kill it.
Okay, we'll kill that.
Not just because the
Golf.
Americans. Yeah,
Yeah,
not just because the Americans went 2-5 in 3-on-3 basketball either.
yeah. Yeah. The women lost today, so I think they've got another game as we
Mhm.
record this for the bronze. But it's like I don't know. Of course we think we should win everything, but we did invent the game. Golf, Olympic sport, because it's all pros.
Yeah, I'll allow it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, because you're seeing the best and the best, and
Hmm.
we already have competitions like the Ryder Cup and things like that. So why not make it an Olympic sport? I'm all for it
See, I'm kind of the opposite way because it's like you've got all the other stuff. Why do you need it in the Olympics?
because you don't have an individual event like you do in golf. Like we had a chance. I didn't watch it, but of course I read an article about it.
Yeah,
I mean, going into the very last round, a guy fighting for a gold medal throws up a 62. And,
yeah.
oh, by the way, by the
Scheffler.
conversation we had 2 weeks ago
Yeah,
was is Scheffler the best golfer in the world? Then yeah, I think
yeah,
he answered that. So I mean, to me, that's cool, and to
yeah.
watch him break down on the middle podium with the national anthem, to me that was cool. So yeah, golf is it.
Oh yeah. No, that was. Don't get me wrong. It was very cool, but it's like okay, you've got the four majors that draw the
Hmm.
world's best golfers. I
Yeah.
don't know if you need it in the Olympics or not. That's why I put it on our list to discuss. Flag football, which oddly enough, I don't think I've heard one word about, but according to NBC, it is part of the Olympic Games.
It starts the next one, right? The 28,
Oh,
because
maybe
the
that's why
NFL
it's on
players,
the list.
because
Okay.
all the NFL guys want in, like Tyreek
Okay.
Hill and Patrick Mahomes. They've all said that they want to play.
Okay. So
Uh,
my
I
list
mean,
was misleading.
it's gonna be sad, is what it's gonna be. I mean, we're
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
beat some poor country 4 billion to 6.
Yeah. Maybe that will replace the Pro Bowl.
Maybe maybe we get lucky.
Yes. Sport climbing, which I think takes place tomorrow.
Is it
You're
on a
climbing.
wall or is it on
Yeah,
an
it's
actual
on it's
mountain?
it's on a wall. It's like a
Kill
simulated
it.
wall. Yeah. Okay. We'll kill that.
Send them to Everest. Send them to Everest, and then we'll put it in.
Yeah. Put them on a real mountain. We'll see what they're made of.
Or let's go back to the American Gladiators wall, and we might be able to
Ooh.
allow that.
Now that could be a good Olympic sport. And what happened to American gladiators? Because I mean, to me
Steroids.
that would be huge right now. Um,
Yeah,
and
I
finally,
agree.
trampoline.
No, kill it with fire, burn it. So that was actually on, or saw a video. Like, how many extra bounces do you need to keep going up and down until you can finally get your rhythm? Like, I saw you sit there and watch
Yeah.
one guy go like 7 or 8 times. He's just like up, down, not doing anything, just trying to get his, I guess, his height or his
Yeah.
rhythm down. But yeah, trampoline, get it out.
Okay. Have you watched any of the table tennis?
Yeah, well, I've seen some clips of it. I mean,
It's crazy. Is that not
that's
crazy?
unreal. Those are F1 type reflexes right there.
Yeah. Those guys are, and then the one guy that holds the serve comes up and does.
Uh-huh.
I'm just like, whatever. Yeah. So the Olympics. That's our quit. So there's our official listing of Olympic sports. All right. We now turn to the American game. Football, 24 days away from the Razorbacks season opener, and you can just feel the excitement in. Not really. Okay. Can't really feel it in the air. So, covering preseason camp, what is your favorite memory from covering preseason camp of the
Hmm.
Razorbacks? Of course, I think when you started though, that's when they really clamped down, though, right? In what you could actually
Yeah.
view.
So my probably my favorite. This would have been when Bielema was there. Um, they they let the media stay for a scrimmage, but we had to go sit in the bleachers, and you weren't allowed to report on what you saw, and you certainly weren't allowed to take pictures or video.
Yeah.
And I remember one TV station, and he was a short timer. He was at one of the other stations. Was like had his camera sitting next to him, but was like sitting here like turning it. So he'd like watch the play and like he'd turn the camera, and like and so it made it almost obvious that he was recording. And you see this GA take off on a dead sprint toward him. It was, I mean, just and then you scales the 10 or 15 steps to where we were sitting. He's like, "Give me the tape. Like, give me the memory card." And I actually took it from him. So
Oh
that was probably
wow.
one of the more entertaining things I've ever seen.
So when you in your time, you were only allowed to see a certain amount of practice, right? Was it
Correct.
once the video period was over, you were out?
Yeah, we got kicked out. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, but because I'm older than the dinosaurs, we actually could shoot the first 7 periods under Crow, starting with
Mm-hmm.
Crow. Shoot the first 7 periods, but you could watch the rest of the practice. So we're in the stadium, we're shooting practice. They're running a kickoff drill, and all of a sudden hear this, "Hey, hey, no cameras, no cameras!" It's in the shooting period. Here comes Crow hauling Major Tail from the goal line across the field and up into the stands. "Can't shoot this. Can't shoot this." We're like, "Coach, it's period 5." I don't, he's just freaked out. Well, after practice, he apologized, but it
Yeah.
was like, I mean, that was probably the most impressive run I saw all season. It was incredible, and it was a lot more fun too when they had where the Smith Center is now were the original practice fields, and there would
Right.
always be traffic on Razorback Road, and it was open. People could come and watch practice. It was quite the social scene. There was always at least 3 wrecks a day because people would rubberneck trying to watch practice and get rear-ended. And one time, and the Crow year was just insane anyway. But there was a guy with a sign for the love of me, I cannot remember what he was protesting, but he was protesting something to the point they had to get UAPD in to remove him, and they stopped practice while this happened. It was,
Wow.
I mean, yeah, it would never happen now because everything is locked
Yeah.
down extremely hard. There was a time a guy in a Miami shirt was in the stadium watching practice, and they had the cops go up and remove him. I mean, it was just football coaches were so paranoid back then because they were afraid, I guess, that a team was sending a scout to watch the evening news and would
Yeah.
somehow record and see a formation. Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
it was insane, just totally insane. So, and the media today, they don't get to experience those fun times anymore because
No,
all they
yeah.
shoot's
I was there at the beginning of it. Yeah, it was where the beginning of the lockdown. I guess so the early 2010s it was really when I was there the most to mid 2010s, and they're so paranoid. I mean, like we would be. I think we were able to shoot 2 periods, which was a total of 10 minutes, 10 or 12 minutes, and like the first 5 minutes or 6 minutes was stretching.
yes,
That's all you could
yes,
do. And then every now and then they throw us a morsel, especially in fall camp. They throw you a morsel like they have like the inside drill. But what they do with the inside drill though, the entire team surrounds you, so you're
hmm
shooting practice essentially camera like you're trying to shoot it over people. And heaven forbid it was one of those days that you sent your short photographer there or one of the female reporters and they're short even the camera holding above their head. All you're seeing is the back of people's heads. So you're like standing in the way. But I mean, and I'm a bitter old man here. There were so many times that I went out to a practice to shoot, and I'm like, why did I come today? It's a
yeah,
complete waste of time.
yeah,
And then you
yeah,
got to sit there because the person you send out there normally you're going to send them right back for interviews 2 hours later. So most of the time they end up just staying down in the media room and edit that
hmm
film. It's like, oh, I've got 40 seconds of video from today. It's like, you can only ISO so many people, stretching or tying their shoes.
yeah, yeah. It's like we figured out a system where okay, we had shots from each weather type condition, and it was almost like you just had a file reel, because if it looks like
Yeah,
you've seen the footage before, you probably have because there's
100%.
not a lot to shoot, and it's just
Mhm.
it's so
You
crazy.
know,
I mean,
if I was a football coach, what I would do, I would open up the first two practices of pads, 100%. Shoot whatever you want,
hmm
and the rest of the year everything's closed. I'm not going to waste your time. Shoot whatever
yeah,
you want the first 2 days. So you're going to get 4 full hours. Send 8 photographers from your station if you want. You're going to get 4 full hours, 2 hours each day, shoot as much as you want, all your ISOs, all your one-on-one drills, get it while you can, and then you're not coming back the rest of the year. That's what I would
Yeah,
do. It's a
and you
waste of
just
time
have to
for everybody.
stockpile it. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
and I can't imagine now. I don't know. I'm sure they still do the preseason specials, but you got to have video to cover all these interviews and stuff. I mean, what guys
yeah,
stretching?
yeah,
And if
pretty
they, and
much.
heaven forbid if they didn't play. So, yeah.
Like new, I can't even imagine now with new players. Obviously, freshmen you deal with have that problem every year, but transfers. I mean, you're talking
Oh,
about
oh
potential
yeah, that's right.
game changer, and you may have Taylon Green throwing 35 passes, and that's all you've got. So you got to rerun it
Hmm.
over and over and over. And so maybe you're calling boys that, hey, can you send me some stuff from last year? Some ISO shots. I mean, it's kind of frustrating. Granted, I did it in a little more modern age than you did. I'm not trying to make you feel old, but like at least we were able to digitize. We had the digital library of
Yeah.
like if I'm looking for, we would go through and label every play and export it as an individual clip, and so that way I can just bring in. Okay, I need everything from whoever 84. Just go in there and I've got my 10 clips. Throw it on the timeline, export it. I've got my VO for the
Yes, that would be much easier than, oh, it's on this
day.
tape somewhere. Good God.
Yeah, right.
Could you ever tell anything from what you saw of preseason camp?
No, because this is going to be the college football player in me. So I'm going to tell you this right now. Nobody knows this, at least on the outside. They can't figure it out. But every person who has played football, college football, knows this for 100%. The
Yeah.
defense cheats.
Oh,
They know what's coming. They know what play is coming all the time, and the defense always looks better in preseason camp. 100%.
okay. Well, that would explain why in '92, the only thing I could ever tell, the scout team was stuffing the first team offense.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was a bad sign. But no one seemed concerned. And of course, it would play out. It was kind of true.
Yeah.
But
Well, because
that's
I
true.
mean,
Yeah, you know
yeah.
what's coming. You know what they're going to do. So when they go against each other, because you hear all the things from practice. Oh, so and so look, this, that, they look great. But until they go
Well,
against someone
just
else, you
because
don't
of
know.
yeah, but because you have limited number of reps that you're going to get in practice, you script everything. The coaches script
Hmm.
everything, and of course, it's not going to do you any good if you've got your goal line defense against a complete spread offense. So the defense has the script of the offense of what they're going to run and what they're working on that day. I mean, so there are never those busted plays where a guy gets left wide open in practice because the defense knows what play the offense is going to run. And so they schedule a defense that's set for that offensive formation. And you know how many times that we went on two in practice in my entire time in college?
Mm-mm.
0 times. Everything's
Oh,
always
wow.
on one because you don't want to screw it up. You don't want to have to run it again. Guess who knows that the
Ah.
snap count's going to be on one. So they're getting off the ball just as fast as you are. Defense cheats and they call it out to each other. They're yeah, better
So if
offensive
the
lineman here, by the
so
way.
then with that in mind, if the offense is having success, that's probably not a good sign, then, is
Real bad day for the defense.
it?
I'll never forget. This is my redshirt freshman year, so this would have been 2002 at UCA, and we had a couple of decent offensive linemen on the scout team. I was on the scout
Hmm.
team still that year. I'm not including myself as one of them, but we were running obviously the other team's offense, and then I believe it was SAU or UAM, so one of the Southern Arkansas schools, and it was a really run heavy team, and we were having a run period, and it was supposed to be like, hey, there's 6 minutes left in the game, we got to get a stop, and we literally just lined up and mowed them over, scored 2 or 3 times over and over. They're like, go back, do it again. I mean, just caked them and caked them and caked them because they couldn't figure it out and they couldn't stop the run to save their life. Our defense, for whatever reason, our defensive coordinator loved to run a 3-4 against option style teams. I'm not talking about read option. I'm talking old school. Obviously
Oh,
90s,
okay.
early 2000s, triple
Yeah.
option, and we
Yeah.
just beat the heck out of. I'm talking. There was 3 or 4 plays in a row that the guard either next to me and I was playing tackle. Like we were getting pancakes on a regular basis with linebackers. I mean, they were scraping over too late, and we were just putting people on their backs. And we got back to back that week. Offensive scout team players of the week. The guy next to me than me, and the coaches were so pissed because the last thing a coach is going to tell a scout team to do is, hey, back off a little bit, and we just did it over and over and over, and finally we just kind of like scaled it back a little bit so the defense could get a stop. We got our teeth kicked in on Saturday. Because guess what? They couldn't stop the run against us, and they sure didn't stop it on Saturday against. I think I'm
Oh,
pretty sure it was UAM. Yeah,
oh
so I mean, we
Lord.
were if there was such a thing as betting lines in 2002 in Division II football, we were had to have been 20-point favorites, and they ran all over us. Probably had 400 yards rushing and beat
Oh
us.
my gosh. That's
Yeah, so
insight you can only get here in the
yeah,
hospitality room. Well, speaking of lines, that brings us to our next topic. The hot seat lines came out
hmm
courtesy of Bet Online. Billy Napier expected to be the first coach can. Pittman plus 500. He's second. Mario Cristobal is third. Dave Aranda, you see the list, which is interesting because Cristobal and Napier meet in the season opener. So whoever
hmm
loses that game, I would assume is going to go to number one with the bullet. Are you shocked to see Pittman this high up on the list?
no, because there's most people that thought he was going to get fired last year, and
Mm-hmm.
and so that's the conversation. It's like, okay, if most people would almost say they were shocked to see that he wasn't fired last year. And you look at the SEC, and obviously Pittman and Napier are going to headline that list all season long. So no, it wasn't surprising to see that high. Um, the Florida coach is going to get canned. It's just a question of how early.
Mm-hmm.
So really no shocks on there. I mean, you see Ryan Day from Ohio State. I'm like,
Yeah.
come on, like they're not going to fire him. Dabo's not getting fired at Clemson. Lincoln Riley's questionable there. Venable's
Yeah.
not getting
There's.
fired at Oklahoma. I tell you what, though, there are two games, and I was looking at the schedule yesterday. I was sitting in the airport. There are two games in Week 1 that could
Mm-hmm.
really cause some things to go sideways for some teams. They're both in the
Yes.
Big 12. One's
Okay.
Colorado playing North Dakota State
Oh yeah.
in the
Yeah.
opener,
Not a gimme
but the
by
other
any
one,
stretch.
Oklahoma State's playing two-time defending national champion South Dakota State. The
Ooh.
Jackrabbits, if they get Gundy right before they're supposed to play Arkansas, that could
Ooh.
be very, very intriguing to me.
Yeah. And then that makes the hot seat bowl in Stillwater
Yeah.
week 2. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
interesting.
could see I could see Dion getting fired this year too, though. Maybe at the end of the year they'll wait till all his kids are gone. But yeah, I mean, if he
Well,
goes 2-10, 4-8, I mean, he may be on his way out too.
but he's brought so much publicity and merchandise sales to them. They can't. I mean, they're going to have nothing when he leaves. The
They
money
got
will
nothing
dry
now.
up. Oh, I know,
Yeah,
but
but is it there now?
mm, they sold out
They,
season tickets, I believe.
yeah,
I
okay.
mean,
I
they're
mean, as long as they're
chasing a
doing that,
dream. Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, it's just with that, they'll be on TV enough,
hmm
like last year. I mean, the publicity they got for winning 4 games was ridiculous. But
Yeah.
and of course, he says he won't leave, but you know he's going to as soon as the season's over. So yeah, I mean, who's going to want that job? But okay, back to Pittman. He brings in Petrino. He's going to install his offense. Is 1 year enough time, one off season, enough time to install an offense to have success? And then you look at that schedule. Well, you look at the schedule of Florida, Arkansas, and Miami. I mean, that's a big ask, isn't it?
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you the schedule to pay attention to that's going to matter maybe more than Arkansas' schedule this year. You know what the Hogs are doing? The
Mm-hmm.
results of a school in southern Nevada is going to determine what happens with Arkansas.
Okay.
If UNLV is 9-3, 10-2, somewhere in that neighborhood, and I've pulled it up. This
Mm-hmm.
is their schedule: at Houston, Utah Tech, Kansas, Fresno State, Syracuse, Utah State, Oregon State, Boise, Hawaii, San Diego State, San Jose State, Nevada, Reno. So they go through that schedule, and especially if they beat Oregon State and Syracuse, and I mean Fresno may be the best team on their schedule. You got Kansas in there
Mm-hmm.
too. If they go
Yeah.
10-2, and Arkansas goes 4-8, 5-7, I could see Pittman getting fired. Barry Odom gets that phone call from Yurchek, says, "Hey, come on back, be our head coach. Oh, by the way, Bobby Petrino is going to be your offensive coordinator." Because remember, where Petrino was right before Arkansas hired him. He agreed to be the offensive coordinator at UNLV for Odom.
Good point. Or does Odom bring his little go offensive coordinator? Yeah, I mean, yeah. What I mean, and with
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Would he even take the? Would you replace your friend? I mean,
I
I'll
think
throw a
so.
name.
Gets him
Okay,
back in the SEC, and he can have payback against Mizzou.
okay. Let me throw a name out after the basketball thing. Ryan Day loses to Michigan. Pressure
Yeah.
similar to Cal leaving Kentucky. You got now you'd
Yeah.
have to put now you'd have to I'm not saying it will happen, but I'm just saying it's crossed my mind. Now you'd have to pony up, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean you're already paying Pittman 7. You could probably get Day for 9. You know he could
Mm-hmm.
recruit. Now you're leaving the Big Ten for the SEC. That's even
Yeah. There,
honestly
there
a
was a
bigger
name on that.
gauntlet.
There was a
Okay.
name on that list that I
Whoops.
think that could potentially shock no one that he gets fired, but maybe he lands in Arkansas just because of what you're just talking about. Lincoln Riley could be very, very intriguing. Because if they have a bad year at USC, obviously playing in the Big Ten, and we're going to find out early, they got LSU in the opener. They're at
Mm-hmm.
Michigan, third game of the season. They got to play Penn State, got Washington,
Yeah.
Nebraska, Notre Dame last game of the year. If he gets canned at USC, they go 4-8. They have a terrible year like they did last year towards the end of the year. Maybe somebody says, "Hey, come on to Arkansas. We'll give you 6 or 7 mil to get back on your feet."
The only pushback I would have on that is he didn't want any part of the SEC at
Yeah,
Oklahoma. Why would he suddenly want a part of the SEC now at a school
yeah.
like Arkansas where you're going to have to even work harder than an Oklahoma
Mm-hmm.
or a USC? And his USC recruiting has not really been that good.
Yeah, I think because if you want a seat at the table, you're going to have to prove yourself in the league. And if he can get to Arkansas to 8 wins a year, he knows that that's going to parlay him into a big time job. And whether that's Clemson when Dabo's gone or whatever the case may be, uh, those bottom feeder Power Five jobs aren't there anymore. There's no, I
Yeah.
mean, other than the Big 12 schools. I mean, in the ACC. So unless he jumps to one of those leagues, I mean, the Big 10 and the SEC are just stacked. I mean, top to
Yeah.
bottom. So you can't avoid it for much longer.
Yeah, I thought about Lashley as a possible
Mm-hmm.
candidate if Pittman is removed. But then if he's got SMU rolling in the ACC, he's got a clear path
Right.
to the playoff. So why would you give that up for the Arkansas job with
Yeah.
with a
And
much
somebody brought up
more
to me,
difficult path?
yeah. Everybody likes to bring up Norvell. That's like, why would he leave Florida State? Like he literally had an undefeated season last year. He could go
Yeah.
6-6 this year, and they're not getting fired. I
No.
mean, so like, might as well get
Well,
Norvell out of your mind. He's going to be there for a while. I think they're going to be
and
pretty good too.
he got stiffed here.
Yeah, that's all
Why?
frustrating.
Yeah, I can't imagine that he would
Yep.
be forgiving on that. Hey, you can follow us on Twitter. You can send us emails. We would love to hear from you. Um, question about anything. We had a Twitter poll on grilling. We'll get to that on our next episode. We're about out of time, though, because we try to keep it short, sweet, and to the point. So, Mr. Swofford, our final word of the day would be.
Wrigley did not disappoint as expected.
Oh, yeah.